Good evening, everyone. So I'm representing ATDC, and I'm going to give an update on the status of the projects, key projects that are completed and upcoming. I'm Vidya. I'm working at ATDC. I'm an architect. So, mother's symbol is not just a static emblem. We know that. In the context of our city, it is the arteries, it is the roads. And they become lively, they become powerful when we commute on them. And that is what we have started to do. As we commute, as we travel, as we live along these radials, along the Crown Road, along the outer ring, then we bring that symbol to life. And ATDC, CPWD, and many of you, including me, we are working towards it. So it was a symbol, then it came to the drawing board, and now we can see it on ground on Auroville lands, which is truly an achievement. So the completion of Crown Roads, including some important stretches such as Darkali Bridge and the Language Lab, this have enabled us to experience the city in the way it is envisaged. Instead of getting lost into the forests, we are now able to see the city, feel the city in the way it is planned, it was envisaged. So these are all completed roads executed by CPWD as per the gazetted master plan. And this is work in progress. Every day, the work goes on the land. On the site, it is a step towards making the fingerprint of the mother more established on the soil, on Auroville soil. And coming to the critical part of it, as you see, the completed is 55%, and the balance is 44.9%. This balance constitutes those lands that are locked into private hands and those that are pending due to fund arrival from the government, due to administrative reasons. Now, what we can address is the lands locked with private people. I mean, we honor that. How do we go about securing these lands is the challenge. And there are many ways to do it. There are creative ways in doing it. There are collaborative ways. And of course, there is the administrative way. But most important is the intent of each one of us resident here. If the intent is right and it is strong enough, then procuring these lands, acquiring these lands is just a matter of logistics. And coming to the core part. So we bought lands, we protected the lands, then we started building. We built in a planned manner, sometimes in an unplanned manner. But as we go towards manifesting the city in a more structured way, planning becomes critical, it becomes pertinent. So when we go into the projects, that upcoming projects, there are two categories. One, that are inward-looking projects, and the other category is outreach projects. The inward-looking projects, the chief aim of inward-looking projects is mainly capacity building, self-sufficiency, in line with the charter. We can be self-sufficient, we can build capacities like the world outside does, but that's not the challenge. We have to do it in line with the charter. And doing that is the beauty, and that is the challenge as well. And all the projects that I'm going to present now are all submitted as DPRs to the government for GOI funding. We are awaiting approvals, and these have also been sent to the concerned ministries, mainly the Ministry of Education. So first in line is the Integral Skills Development Center. Earlier it was called as Vocational Training Center. Now we call it as Integral Skills Development Center. And then the South Service Note. You have heard all these things. I'm just presenting it in a different light. new town hall, and sports center. Integral skills development, it is a direct answer to capacity building. We have a lot of artists. We had a beautiful music going on now as we started. We have a lot of musicians, artists. We also need a lot of technicians, technically strong people. We should start exploring in that direction as well. Why? Because we are going forward to build the city. And to build the city, we need, if we want to build the city by ourselves, that is what is the aspiration of most of us. We want to build it on our own. And if we want to build it on our own, we should have the expertise. And this skills development center is a direct answer to that. So this is a 7,850 square meter roughly vocational training center. And the topics are based on the domains that we have chosen are mainly based on those that address the building of the city. Sustainable construction, water management, wastewater management, renewable energy. And we can't do without AI nowadays. So AI in an application sense, applying to the building the city. More structured, more focused usage of AI. This is all done in the spirit of integral education and also the national education policy. We are not cut off from the broader policies. We are aligned with the broader policies and we are well aligned with the integral education as well. And that is truly what we have achieved. We should be proud to do it. We love to learn through hands-on. That's what Auroville stands for. And we go in that line itself. We learn it through hands-on. South Service Node. 4 years ago, when I presented it here, South Service Node was just seen as a parking lot. But now today they have added more facilities to it, making it more economically viable. So they have added a food court and other revenue generating amenities, which will all translate into buildings infrastructure. So who will be beneficiaries of this project? Beneficiaries will be the Auroville residents, of course, and the tourists, the 5 to 6 lakh tourists who come here. And going back to this, for the vocational training center, for the integral skills development center, the main beneficiary is our Auroville youth. It is for us. And extending it to the bioregion youth. So it is actually planned for 100 residents, 80 students and 20 resident teachers. And since it is quick turnover courses, it will not be like 5 years or 4-year courses, maximum months to a year. So we will be training a lot of students, Auroville youth, in these lines. And the new town hall building, which will be more infrastructured, and the sports complex. All beneficiaries are Aurovillians, since it is inward-looking project, it's a capacity building. And coming to the outreach projects, we are already doing a very good job in outreach. We have outreach schools, we have training centers that look to train the bioregion youth. We take that spirit, and we are now going to do it on a larger scale, in a more structured manner, providing more infrastructure. So how? Through education and mutual economic growth. First in this is Sri Aurobindo Integral Multiversity. I think this will be the first of a kind in the whole world. Because multiversity in such, it is a new concept. It's relatively a new concept. And we are bringing it, we are experimenting on that. We love to experiment as Aurovillians, we are doing that. And that multiversity, it's going to have a wide range of institutions within it. It will have an Ayurvedic hospital and an institute. It will also have an engineering, technology, and management institute. And it will have a horticulture institute and Vedic, Matri Vedic school. So all these students, just imagine, these different kinds of students studying in the same university. It will be wonderful. We should really try to see how it evolves, what kind of ecology, what kind of student life that would create. And this is one way of taking Auroville to the outside world. Instead of preaching, instead of giving classes, which is fantastic, which is also should be done in that way too. But when we demonstrate it through infrastructure, through facilities, that has its own significance. It has its own impact, social impact. So we, as of phase 1, we aimed to give 1,000 students, to train, to educate 1,000 students, and gradually scale up to 4,000 students. It's a huge project, quite ambitious project in that sense. And you can see it has ancient wisdom as well as futuristic knowledge, all combined. And then we have Urban Hat. This is a socio-economic project. You must be knowing that Pondicherry and Viluppuram, the surrounding areas, are well known for weavers community. This weavers community, they need a place, they need a platform to showcase their skill, their work. And this project aims to do that by capitalizing on the huge footfall that we have as tourists everywhere in Auroville. During the peak season, we almost have 15 lakhs tourists coming to Auroville. And when we include the Pondicherry tourists who come to Pondicherry also, so we'll have a good influx, a steady influx of people who can be, whoever is interested, those people can be channelized to these kind of hubs, which will benefit us as well as them. So here it is a direct interface between the artisan and the consumer, customer. So there is no middleman here. This is what we give to those people. So if you see, all these projects are in alignment with our master plan. They are in alignment with the national education policy, with our charter, and with larger policies like sustainable livelihood policies. This comes under sustainable livelihood policy. NHDP stands for National Handloom Development Program under the Ministry of Textiles. So we are seeking fund for all these projects. So what is right now happening? I have deliberately stayed away from showing you plans, sections, and views, because you have seen a lot of that, and you will be seeing eventually many of them. Today I just wanted to talk about the intent and the direction. So all these projects are live, they are active, we have submitted to the ministries, we are awaiting their approval and fund release. These are huge projects that have big impact on the society. So we have to wait, we have to be patient, and we are not idly being patient, we are in the meanwhile working on the projects. We are doing our drawings, we are doing the estimates, we are doing feasibility studies in a more detailed manner for each building. So this is where we stand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vidya. It was a really good oversight where we are daily busy with. Is better? Okay. I work in the TDC and water service, so I have 2 caps. But water service is a part of the TDC, and I will come to this a bit later. Unfortunately, I have only 6-7 minutes to give you an overview of the projects where we are busy with, and that is really too short. So I cannot talk about aquifers, I cannot talk about rainfall, I cannot talk about all that kind of thing, so I concentrate only on the projects of water services is doing at the moment. If I look at water service 2 years back and now, it is an immense transformation. We have doubled in size, we have doubled in people who work there, we have doubled, quadrupled in activities. It is going in all directions. And it could not be done if we would not have the help of TDC, FAMC, Foundation, and let's go on. And also you, because in our collection of borewells and that kind of things, we needed really the help of the communities. But I will come to this also. There are 3 main activities of water service. The first is water supply, that is something we all know. That we have a borewell, we have a sump overhead tank, we have piping, beaters, and then we deliver water. The second one, that came new into water service 2 years back is wastewater. That's a bit of an, I'm not saying problem, but it needs a lot of attention from us, especially in the quality of the effluent, which was not well managed. Here and there it was managed, but here and there it was not managed, and it took us a lot of problem. The third one is stormwater. I put it in between brackets for a good reason, because basically we have to work on it. Basically, it is one of the most important things, but we don't have the capacity to do everything. And every time when I have the Central Groundwater Board on the line, and that goes once in the 2 weeks, they press me on this point. They say, Toby, look, the aquifers are vulnerable. You have to use rainwater to fill them. How far are you? And they offer help. We do the research that we have just finished, and gradually we're coming into shape that we make artificial bore wells to fill the aquifers. But that's a long-term thing. It has also some connection with the lake. It has also some connection with the future water provision of Auroville. Here you see one page of the master plan, the famous section 5, where the services, all the infrastructure services, are positioned. And I show you this because all the infrastructure services, electrical service, communication service, road service, but also the green service, building service, water service, is a part of the ATDC. And this document is gazetted, this document is approved, and it is a statutory document. So you have a bit of a feeling from what the relation is between those services and the TDC. There's quite a cooperation. That was not in the past. That has developed over time. And more that planning got to say, look, this is the direction of Auroville, what we just say in buildings and development of areas. More and more the structure is following this, the infrastructure is following this, because everybody needs electricity, everybody needs water. So we are following, in that sense, the planning. To give you an idea about water service, you see bore wells, we had 8. Now we have 20. And that 20 is also a moving number. If I see how we go into the communities in looking at bore wells and gradually taking over bore wells, that is not something what happens in one day. You go into a community, you look at the whole infrastructure, and then gradually you make your technical reports, how much water is used, what is the quality of the pipes, what is the quality of the bore well, what is the all that kind of stuff, and it becomes reports of 10, 15 pages. And then gradually we start thinking, what can we do? What should we do here? And then all kind of improvements are coming. Oh, I did something wrong. Is better? Thank you. Yeah, I pressed it by accident, I think. Thank you. So then the reports come. We have to renew pipes. We have to make the bore well deeper. We have to all kind of things. And with those reports, we go to the TDC, and then a discussion starts from can it be done, can it not be done, and gradually we integrate it into our system. You see here that we went from 560 to almost 1,000 connections. That means that we have grown quite a lot. Water delivery went to 0.8 to 1.9 lakh cube meter per year. Look, if you have a big city, it is not so much, but in the Auroville context, it is quite a lot. Our operating cost is about 30 rupees per cube. That depends per community. Some communities is 25, some communities even 60. So there are quite big differences. And you see in the wastewater plants that we went from 0 to more or less 10. If I look at the main projects, what we have under us at the moment is compliance. That's quite something. The transfer of water and wastewater systems. DPR in the new locations, also quite a project. And an internal organization, what is really moving forward. And let's start with the first one, compliance. 1.5 years ago, we hired somebody who was a specialist in compliance. And that person looked at all laws and all regulations, and I mean, it was a 60-page document where a water company should apply to. It is the water quality, it is the quality of the pipes, it is information what you give. There are many, many different kind of laws and rules and regulations where we did not even know the source of. So gradually, step by step, we looked in all those things and we started to implement them one by one. So our pipes are now of a certain quality and structure. Our water quality is now regularly monitored. Our effluent is now looked at it almost every day. All that kind of things, of these 60 pages, one by one, we are implementing because it is, you're talking about health of people. And when you talk about health, things have to be good or you don't do them. We don't have inspections at the moment, so we are a bit free of what we are doing, but more and more we are looking to get into that compliance. It will take some time before it is completely done. I mean, we are busy now for 1 year. It will take at least 1.5, 2 years before it is all done. The transfer of wastewater and water systems. This is also quite a project. I remember that we first talked about it in the ATDC Foundation and FAMC, and that we said, look, if we look at all those different systems and all the different qualities, and some are well maintained, some are not well maintained. If you look at the total water, what goes through the system, and if you look at the total money, what is unaccounted for in those systems, it is about time that we start not necessarily centralizing, but bring everything under one umbrella. That we use everywhere the same pipes, that we use everywhere the same valves, that we use everywhere the same output in the effluent, that we get all to those things what we are step by step on implementing. And this is how things going. We go into a community, we make an assessment, the assessment comes on the table, we look what has to be done, and gradually we start changing the situation or connecting with other systems. And then in the end it comes in our financial system. But that can take easily 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, before everything is done and everything, take for instance electricity. Most of the communities have a combined electricity point. We have to split it into water service and something else. Now that takes time. I mean, it's not complicated, but it takes time. And so there are many of those things. So that is happening in the systems. Wastewater systems. We take them over. Usually it is a 20-25 lakh problem, what we try to maintain and revise and repair and all that kind of things before we are say, now it starts to look good. And these are big projects. It looks, we call it maintenance, but basically we redo a whole wastewater system. If I look at the communities of the last 1.5 years, we have done almost whole Auroville internal, and we are looking also now outside the master plan. So our model, fraternity, aspiration, these are next on the line to integrate into the water service. Another thing is, if you look at Auroville and we look a bit ahead, then we have now 3,000 people. But there will be a moment that we have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. I mean, it might be far away, but it will come. And this is also the basic of infrastructure, that gradually you start planning for those kind of totals. So what you see at the moment is not how the future will be. The future is that first phase, 10,000, second phase, 20,000, and that gradually we start building the infrastructure on those levels. For this, can I go on? Is that, yeah, okay. For this, we need a completely different approach to the water infrastructure. Although in the communities here and there it is well arranged and it's getting better, if you look overall where the resources are and how the main piping and where the wastewater centers has to come, it's a different world. And that is fully in planning at the moment. And we call that a DPR, a detailed project report. And we are talking about at the moment with 3 different engineering agencies who can develop a DPR for us. And if that comes to a conclusion, then we go to the TDC, we go to the foundation, said, look, we did our work, we have the quotations, and we think that this is the right direction. It will not be that in one go we do the whole infrastructure. It will be part already geared out of 50,000 and part step by step when we see the growth coming. So it will be a very phased kind of development what we will have in the infrastructure. And of course we have to connect the basic existing infrastructure. Everybody has water, everybody has a provision for wastewater, and you cannot just say, yeah, we're building something new, so stop with water and stop with wastewater for the next 6 months because we have a transition to go. I mean, it doesn't work like this. So the transition is that things are going on, but in the meantime we start reconnecting new things. Here you have an idea about where the wastewater will come. That's between Samasti and Pichandukulam. We are working at the moment on the access together with road service. We're working on fencing. We're working on possible clearing, but that's a bit further away. And we have to plan the whole area, but that will be part of the DPR. And now it's over. Here is the water station. That is between the ring road and Dana. The reason, by the way, perhaps it is good to hear, we did quite a research why the wastewater should come there. And in Auroville we are in a really blessed situation that on both sides Auroville is sloping. That means that the wastewater, in this case, follows gravity towards stations on the lowest places in the master plan. And we have located all those lowest places, and we have a second blessing, and the second blessing is the master plan. It has concentrated all the industrial activities actually in one zone, of the 2-3 zones. That means that special effluent is concentrated already, and not that the industry is over the whole city. That makes it very doable for wastewater to collect and to treat it. So that's really blessed in the wastewater. So here you see that we found out a place which is quite low, and we can basically on the east side of the ridge bring all the wastewater for residential 1, 2, 3, 4 and cultural zone toward this place. This is a similar story. This is the water station. That's between the ring road and Dana. That's actually on the top of the ridge, and we searched on the top of the ridge because if you're on the top and you have a sloping area, then you have advantages in the pressure. I mean, you don't have to use so much electricity or whatever to bring the water in the tower or pressurized system to bring the pressure everywhere. That was one of the reasons. Second, we did a whole research about bore wells there. And I mean, there are quite a few places where we can drill for high yield bore wells. So those two elements, that we're on the top of the ridge, close to the ring road for access, because the whole distribution will be along the ring road, and close to water resources, made this place. Now, we have proposed these places to ATDC. ATDC has followed it, so this is where we are at the moment. Now I want to say a few things about internal. I started telling you that if you look at water service at the moment, and you looked at 2 years back, there is hardly any comparison. We doubled in people, we doubled financially, we doubled in water supply, we doubled in quite a lot. That means that the organization, there is some stress in how do we go about all these things. New people came in, mainly Aurovillians. We have people in the wastewater engineering, all that kind of things, step by step in development, or it has already been done. And it isn't easy. So I started with expanding, so we expand. We have now about 15 people. I think at the end of next year it will be 20, 25, something like this. If it continues like this, I mean, that is of course to say. And we need expertise. We work on highly operational driven unit, but that operational part is mainly made automatic, or we made things double or even triple, just to be sure that everything is fine. If the electricity is doing what we want, but that's a separate thing. We had quite a few problems with electricity, but then we call each other and then we find ways to solve it. although it costs always money, but that's the second thing. So highly automatic, triple systems sometimes in place, just to have no headaches that if tanks are empty, that the water flow can go on. So one side expansion, other sides we need more expertise. We go from project more to monitoring. If I see the systems which are in place, that we can see the tank volumes, the pressure and all that kind of things, that has no relation anymore with 2-3 years back, so we can just see it. Now in the meantime, we do a new billing system, a new Zoho, we do a new tariff system, all that kind of things we do. And one thing, what you see stand here, is the SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. I started telling you that our compliance part is important. And I told you also that there are many, many pages, many, many items what need compliance. And that is always in the SOPs, in the Standard Operating Procedures. What is it? You don't like it? You don't like it? I have to stop this. Is that what you're basically saying to me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. We will take next month somebody in service who will do only the SOPs. Monitoring how far should it, how often should we look at this, what kind of reports are necessary, and all that kind of things. And there is one thing, and I want to close with this. We had a discussion in the water service a month ago, and then we said, look, we have done so many things, it is high time that we start presenting what we are doing in news and notes and perhaps meetings. So in that sense, I'm standing here as the first who is telling you what we are doing, but it is the first step in more communication, what is necessary for water in Auroville. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toby and ATDC members. So as I said, please note down your questions, and after the 3 presentations, you're open to ask all the questions you have. So now I call upon Chandresh from FAMC to give their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. Thank you, madam. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to see such a big gathering today. And along with ATDC, I'll follow up with all the transitions we are doing at FAMC because our focus has been and is moving towards now going from compliance to collective direction, because Auroville is about collective, and we are trying to see how, as the master plan is being implemented by ATDC, in FAMC we are trying to see how do we go towards collective direction but keeping in compliance of what is required for regulations and the rules and regulations and the laws of the country. Okay, so we are shifting in our role. We are moving from, instead of issue management that traditionally FAMC was working on, micromanagement, we're looking at long-term economic and administrative direction in various areas, also with various subgroups in the meetings. We are developing systems over reactive model of working, and so structured pathways instead of responding to fragmented case-by-case challenges, and we are strengthening our team. I would like to invite Kalia at this point, as he's coming back to FAMC. He was part of our team, and in between there was a period when he was away, and he's coming back. Kalia, everybody knows, and he's here with us. And he has been bringing in new areas of expertise to strengthen our capacity into strategic and development roles, because he can, he has also other experiences and also knows a lot of people from Auroville as he has grown up here, and it'll bring good synergy. Okay, so I will, listening before structuring. So we have started with the prosperity, which was one of the areas that governing board had been insisting from the first meeting of the governing board to focus on prosperity. So over last 8 months, we have launched this along with AWARE we have started structuring how we are going to go about prosperity. And one of the first thing we also want to do is get a feedback from the community as a whole. And that process has been happening over the last 1 month. So that was, over forms and also in meetings. And at this point, AWARE and facilitators which are independent of FAMC to get feedback from different sectors, subgroups. We are collecting information. There will be dialogue and consolidation by AWARE and the coordinators, and they will present to FAMC for taking forward for implementation. And our goal is to formally launch it on April 24th on Mother's Return Day, marking the collective intent. And here, this is just in brief, our principle of prosperity is we must have abundance to create this collectivity need, and which is felt inside and individually. That need for a collectivity is, we are trying to see how we can engender for individuals and groups of Auroville. Okay, so we want to see if we can help in together, that it's not a redistribution of what we have. It's not about equality. It begins with generating value and changing attitude. That's one of the areas of outreach. And the second thing is how we can bring our production, distribution and conscious consumption with shared systems from a base of abundance. Now, the next one I want to focus on is this base of abundance and where we are and where we need to go in order to support prosperity, which is the central theme of what Auroville is to be. So, essential conversion we need is in economic development, because what is happening is our community is aging. We need to focus on succession planning. Look at how we can encourage startup. There are a lot of young people, also newcomers joining now, and we have to outreach to them and bring them together. That's another area. Also look at reinvestment of our capital, another distributed thing that is outlying, bring it together and see how we can reinvest more effectively, and strengthen our income generating ecosystem. And we'll go on this in a few more slides down. Our future orientation we are looking at is trying to move towards knowledge economy, innovation and industrial evolution. Again, along with the ATDC, who is looking at the integral skill development center. There is also an Atal incubation center that is it will come up, and I'll share a few more areas where we want to see how we can strengthen our economy. And then we are trying to now, Kalia is also leading to see if we can have, furtherance group, which will try and help with the different pathways for bringing the community to contribute to FAMC in AWARE. Through FAMC along with the help of AWARE. So other areas are the subgroups of FAMC. One of the main thing is human resources has been strengthened so that we can start working with the various residents and people who are looking for engagement with Auroville, and also with the units and various projects that will come up, how to match the requirement against what we are looking for work. And now we also are looking to see if we can strengthen the accounting support system, so that apart from just a compliance, we also try and see which are the areas where they are struggling in order to get over the details, and also what areas they find confusing for transition. So that is another area we are looking at to support. And we will have a system intent that we will have is to support the units, which is, shared services to strengthen units instead of duplicating efforts. So because there are actually, as we were looking at many of the units, we see there's so many duplication, and also many people wanting to start the same thing again and again. So we are trying to say, look, how can we all work together so we can strengthen our effort and economic development. That's another area we are going to start picking up. So unit restructuring, this is an area that we wanted to look at some of the returns and also work areas and see if we can highlight the issues and then work with the unit executives see to give their feedback how to strengthen their operations. And the impact here will be more work opportunities and reduce operational opacity in our unit and income generating units. Okay, so this is where I think Kalia is now looking into working with the youth and also people who are interested to work to see how we can match this difference. And this is another area that is being picked up because traditionally over the years people keep saying FAMC is doing nothing about all the capital and the money sitting in the various units across Auroville. So idea is now let's map it, bring it together and see, reintegrate and see where we can utilize it for shared resource need, maybe startup, maybe strengthen other areas that is needed. And here our outcome expected is improved liquidity, transparency and capacity for priority initiatives that FAMC can fund as requested from other subgroups. And again, this is very important. Over the last 3 years, we have had transition changes, maybe miscommunication, misunderstanding. And as we go forward, we would like to see how we can consciously work with the units, the subgroups, the various communities, so that we can address the friction and misunderstanding properly. Of course, in one of those things is setting up the community coordinators with young people so that we can have a more systematic feedback to what we can do. So dedicated group will be formed with FAMC to resolve long pending operational and relational issues that have been fomenting. We'll work with to identify, listen, and then we'll approach, our approach is facilitate dialogue and practical solutions instead of escalation, and reduce confusion, delays, and fragmented communication channels. Of course, while doing this, we have to make sure that we don't get dragged down into micromanagement, but we keep the larger focus of structural systemic setup. Yeah, and so we'll set up a care desk in FAMC where there is one interface people can talk and also point of contact for all financial and administrative queries. And this is very important. We have a lot of newcomers now. Almost 325 more newcomers have joined. Most of them are young, and also a lot of young people who are looking for engagement. And so this is an area that, and also education, a lot of our queries come, what about children's education, higher education, other area. So those are things we are looking into. So bridging the gap, which is aligning learning system with real economic participation, collaboration, working with SAIIER for vocational pathways and meaningful engagement, and we'll also look at this integral skills development along with ATDC to see how to strengthen that along with the Atal Incubation Center and Economic Development Plan zone. One area that has brought in a little more, quite a bit of resentment in a way, it's not a resentment, but confusion as to when exchanges happen. So, there are a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different, opinions that fly around. So our idea was that we do a mapping exercise of the various outlying areas, bring some key resource people and present the pros and cons so that when exchanges are considered, there may be a better decision making that can go in so that, challenges have been understood. So that's the purpose we are trying to see, to just come about with a more informed decision making process. Another area that we have picked up which was missing so far in our history of Auroville is that we have about 1,800 residential assets, and a lot of them were built over before individually, very few housing collective projects which we do have, but 1,800 residential assets and how to maintain these, because a lot of them are also aging, and there is no collective system to help maintain this. So what we are doing is we have identified, we are budgeting and looking at a collective system of house maintenance and administration. And what that means is like a health maintenance system where individual or the prosperity component supports our collective health. Small house maintenance portion of the prosperity will help towards collective asset management for residential assets. Okay, so we are structuring this, and once we, hopefully another month and a half when we roll out prosperity, this will be part component of that. So there won't be variation or no maintenance, nothing. There will be small component, but together it will support everybody's financial, the house maintenance needs. Another area that is fragmented across Auroville and we are aging population is the health integration. Last year we had met with the various the executives of the various health groups of Auroville, and we have said together what are the areas of deficiencies and how do we come together working collectively to come up with our budget, and what are the services which are missing, what services we would need to add. So that area was presented to a governing board for a consideration for taking forward. We are going to just start the group and hope to again bring back to governing board saying, look, this is an area that is required and this is what we are doing, for their advice and feedback from the foundation. So this is an area where we're going to start picking up in another few weeks. And also what is happening is today our health maintenance amount that we take is not sufficient to cover the variety of health needs, and so what happens is people can only be supported for some amount and the rest it's really a struggle. So if we look at a group insurance and few other health system that Government of India provides, like for seniors, we have a lot of seniors Ayush program. So we're going to see together if this health wellness group can look into how to bring about a holistic health and wellness programs and see how to manage as an integral costing and services that will be provided, so that we have a much more efficient and system that works together for the community benefit. So that's an area we'll start bringing together. And lastly, we want to put on this presentation that we have been working last 2-3 years that with all the various systems and processes we had before, and how they need to be in alignment with what the compliance will be needed. So those are slowly being put into a structure, and wherever there are unclarity, we work with our FAM Foundation OSD sir, who can give us a guidance on the requirement for trust consolidation, for compliance, and few other areas that is not clear for FAMC, so that we can, everyone, we understand what are the boundaries and where we can need help, we ask, where we can support and work, we work together with the foundation. I wanted to put that here to show that we are, for governance, we are aligning with together from the community side and from the foundation side, who's helping us go forward. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Chandresh. So if you have any questions for FAMC, please note it down. So next we call upon Sanjeev from SAIIER.
I'm Sanjeev from SAIIER. This is Auroville from SAIIER. Hi. Okay. On questions and forms, one of the things we've really been working on in the last few years, but in the last few months quite intensely, is this recurring question, but why? And this question of meaning and purpose in the context of what is SAIIER. So this Sri Aurobindo International Institute of Educational Research. Now I need to figure this out. Okay. When we position this why, or which is going to take us to how we would like to do things or to understand how things were done until now, the first thing that we come back to again and again, and I think that's true for most of us who are sitting here, is this question of the raison d'être and the aspiration of Auroville. And part of the challenge seems to be that the aspirations are so high that a lot of the time what happens is that we're like, okay, but we're not quite that yet. So for now, let's do this. And whereas it's completely understandable, it puts us in difficult situations down the line, because sometimes in trying to find an immediate solution, we found ourselves going in directions that years later make things a little bit complicated. So one of the works has been to say, okay, these are the aspirations, we are not there yet. Can we try to walk backwards and find, even if it's the 2.5 steps in that direction, to try to take them or discuss them or talk about them and figure out how we go from there. And in terms of guidance, because sometimes even with our little collective, we don't always see eye to eye, we don't quite know which is the right way forward, is to come back to them again and again. And the question then comes, and it's a question that echoes both in Auroville and in the world very much at the moment, is in the current context. In the current context, what is the knowledge, or what are the capacities, the qualities that we as human beings need to possess and develop? And can we start to look at our education systems, or our continued education, our never-ending education, from that perspective? And then to see, that is the aspiration, that is the experiment, the possibility of Auroville, to see what is the bridge required with the world as it is. And to treat these two as two very different experiments, which are both valid and exist within Auroville, but something that looks at a progress guided by the soul, at the possibility of creating new forms for the realization of something else that we don't know what it will be, and knowing that we exist within the world we do, within the people that we are, and that we may need bridges. A simple example of that, to make it more concrete, and then we'll move on, is the question of, for example, a progress guided by the soul, a free progress line of approach, and a progress which has some kind of recognition and certification and fits in somewhere. And when we end up mixing those two experiments, which are both valid, and saying they're the same thing, we get confused. We don't know where we take our conversations. So to say, okay, both are valid, they have a realm in which they exist, how do we address them? How do we find the right spot for each? How do we find our attitude which differs in each? So these are some of the questions that have been coming up, which leads us to the question of forms. Okay, as was mentioned, there is the question of transition, of continuity that we have been facing, as well as the sense of a timeline. There is a generational shift happening in Auroville, and recently in SAIIER, one of the things that popped up is the question of, we were appointed or asked to serve in that position for 2 years. And we looked at each other, we said, wow, actually fantastic, because it changes the attitude when one is sitting there for a very, very long time, or the possibility of offering something for a short bit, and having to clarify things so that whoever comes next has the clarity of what was done, why it was done, perhaps, because we had to do quite a lot of digging to figure that out for ourselves. And so this is one of the things that we're working on. It'll lead up to the next part. The next is weaving the collective fabric. It has been a challenge, I think perhaps throughout in Auroville in the last few years. We know that the collective fabric has been challenged, and the question has been, so how do we go forward? And for us, the answer has always been through work, through trying to figure out, regardless of what is going on in our tiny sphere of work, how can we create something of beauty, something of meaning and purpose, something that calls us back to each of us. Finally, why are we here? So this has been a big part of the work, this collective fabric, and through events, through moments of collective reading, through gatherings in which we can explore how to deepen our work. And the last part is a good, perhaps knock on the head, wake-up call that we had, one of our responsibilities in SAIIER has been research and thus documentation of our experimentation, because I think we have been experimenting in Auroville, we have been seeking for new ways and new forms. We have not always been brilliant as a collective at writing it down, at formulating it, at being able to say, hey, this is what we've learned so far. So one of the big works at SAIIER and in conversations with the schools or the units of SAIIER has been, how do we do this? How do we make this a practice? And this has been a big part of it. In terms of finding forms then, if the question is, we need to find, we're waiting for some kind of creation that would be utterly new. And yet, as we're a growing collective, we need to find some kind of forms that hopefully won't suffocate us. And so this has been, in the last few years, some of the frameworks or policies that we have been looking at as much as possible collectively, sometimes with just a few of us as a focus group, then sending it out and coming back. So for example, the document that became the SAIIER school policy, which can be picked up anytime at SAIIER, it's quite a beautiful document that was worked on by the entire school board together to see what would we like it to be. And it didn't start as a policy, it started as the question, what does an Auroville school aspire to be? And then one day, the door was knocked at and we were told, do you have a school policy? We said, actually, we have this document. And what better than an aspirational document, which is based on somehow the best practices of each one of our spaces to become the school policy. So this has been a little bit of the approach. Yeah? Yours. Arvan from SAIIER.
Well, we are not quite done yet. I know. Thank you. So what is it that we have been doing towards it? We have been having the integral education practitioner gatherings where all the teachers come together, and we look at, usually we have been looking at something aspirational in terms of reading Mother and Sri Aurobindo together, or calling someone who has a senior practitioner to share their experience. More recently, we have been taking the challenges of SAIIER. So what is it that we are looking at for education for Auroville as a whole? And getting input. So many of the policies she talked about are discussed at these sessions where we get feedback, incorporate it, and keep modifying it. So it's a living document that actually reflects, not just the pulse of the people, but also the wisdom of a collective feedback. So along with that, we have of course been having a lot of events, and some of you may have seen even during the Auroville week, all the creations that the children had done in the common spaces of Auroville. We've been having study circles, collective readings, and as SAIIER we've been offering quite a few courses for our teachers. So this is capacity building courses. They are not necessarily short courses. The SEL course was short. We've had a 10-month course on basically supportive learning and special needs. We've had a 6-month course on research, over the duration of which 5 research papers were written and presented at conferences. So the SAIIER R, small r, is becoming a slightly bigger R. Also, we actually have research. We are working on a program on vital education, and as well as a program on early childhood. So these are things that are to come. How do we work on these programs? Exactly where Auroville started. We start with Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We look at what is it in the light of integral education, and then we integrate experts from around the world to see how we can align it to what we want to see in our children and what we want to see in ourselves as adults. Right. So, well, we have been working on consolidation of trusts, and we've had many units apply to SAIIER. But we have to basically go back to the question of why they want to be part of SAIIER. What is it that they want to accomplish? And many times sort of the units in quick hurry wrote, this is what we do, and FAMC has asked us to be part of SAIIER, which FAMC suggested. They still have to fit into SAIIER. So we asked them to go back and look at the question of why we are doing what we are doing. And for example, some of our units were thinking of the work we do and said, we do so much work. And we are helping these people, especially in the outreach. And we had to go back to the conversation and say, we are not here to do social service, we are here to do spiritual service. And what does that distinction mean to each of us? And also to be able to share this with all the people who work in the unit. So, yes, we were in a hurry, but we need to have that stillness even though, so we rush slowly, right? So we pause and we think, why are we here? What are we doing? Why do we want to be part of SAIIER, and what is the larger goal that we are going to achieve together? To go beyond the mindset of working in silos and how will we work with each other? How will we support each other? And yeah, the kind of collective she had mentioned, for example, the collective program we have for gratuity. At one point, it was not possible for BCCs to support gratuity. So we proposed a scheme where we said, all right, we have many units, many of them have not really thought about this. Let's start collecting small amounts every month, and then let's see how it works out. That was 3 years back. The program is still going on. So as long as we have trust, collective trust, and we come together to say, this is something we'll do together, it seems to be working. So these are all units that we had conversations with. It's Auroville Institute of Applied Technology and Endangered Craft Mugam, Udavi School, Tamarai Learning Center, New Era School, Deepam School, and Prakriti. Yeah. So all these units, we've had conversations, we have approved them, and they are now part of SAIIER. And there are others that are in conversation with the same questions on why are we doing what we are doing? Let's deepen the conversation. I know we should be in a hurry, we are not. Right? We have to pause. And we have to find the whys and not just the whats. Because the whys are going to guide how we do things. And some fun things that the children have been doing. We've been having plays. Some of you may have enjoyed the play on Auroville's birthday. Also the play from Deepanam School, and the upcoming play tomorrow from Transition School, and many more to come next month because it's the end of the schooling year, so some of them have open houses, some of them have plays, a couple of more coming up next month as well. So please come to these events and encourage our young ones who are taking a lot of effort to put something beautiful together from a slightly higher space of where we can work from. And this is our invitation from SAIIER. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjeev and everyone. So now the floor is open for question and answers. We can take about 15 minutes for question and answer. So please raise your hands one by one so that we can answer all the questions. Thank you. So working group members who are present will also be ready to answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, working groups, for presenting. I don't have a question per se, but I have an observation to make. Is that we are fairly houseful today, and can we make use of this? Can we use this occasion to a little bit reset, walk back, try to find the collective amongst us? We talk in our presentation so many times, we repeat the word collective, but it will only work when we are a collective. And another occasion to remember is also that in 2 years' time we have Mother's 150th coming. And if that becomes our little bit of a milestone for a collective to find a way to come together, find some synthesis, find some amicability. And that means that we need to work from today. It's not going to be a short road, it's going to be really difficult. And we need to have those conversations. Can we open this today? Because I have been holding the sessions before and I have tried to limit conversation because it was at times very disrespectful, at times even nasty. But can we try as an experiment to have an open house, truly have a conversation, let's listen to what the grievances are. With a caveat that as long as it is respectful, when it crosses the red line, when it crosses the maryada, you can always stop it. Thank you.
So today's platform is actually for what Lakshay said. So it's not only pertaining to the presentations, but any question that you have in mind will be answered. So please feel free to ask your questions. We'll give it to the next person.
The multiversity, is it at a university level or is it whatever? I would be interested to know that. And also the Auroville Institute of Applied Technologies, as far as I know, it was fused with the Pondicherry University. Is it now rebuilt or under this name, or is it something different, or is it still the same institute which we had?
Can I just say something? Lakshay, thank you so much. Nowadays, we don't meet in Euronet. You have been a great help for FAMC, actually. So I want to say thank you so much for you and your team for supporting with prosperity. Thank you, actually. Somebody was going to answer them. Regarding the multiversity, what's your next question? Okay. I'll give it to OC, sir.
For multi-university, now we are under the preparation of DPR. We have sent it to the ministry. Once the ministry is approved, then only we will start the program. Okay. At present, there are few institutions they have approved, like Vedic Padasala and engineering colleges, architecture. So few courses, actually few institutions they have approved, but governing board has approved, but DPR is under preparations. Once the DPR is approved, then only the money will be sanctioned from the ministry. So it is under preparation.
Multiversity, what you asked, multiversity is actually the meaning of multiversity. It's the conglomeration of many universities. It is not a single university. You bring together many universities basically through infrastructure, digital infrastructure. So on the question of Auroville Institute of Applied Technology, we're not saying no to it. The spirit of that will get imbibed into this larger institute. It's not a transition away, it is a part of that, but it's going to be in a larger scale, reaching out to more students. The name might vary, but it is in the same spirit.
Small corrections, not many university. Actually, there are many programs under one university. That is called multi-university.
After seeing the three presentation, ATDC,
Answer not done. The Auroville Institute of Applied Technology never merged with Pondicherry University. Pondicherry University has a program called Bachelor of Vocation. Actually, not Pondicherry University. All of India has a program called Bachelor of Vocation, in which they allow us to design our own curriculum. Now, this was exciting because following the regular BTech or BEd, we know has its limitations. One, it is not practical oriented. And two, it doesn't incorporate integral personality building, which is important for us. So these were the two components that we added to our traditional education system and proposed it to Pondicherry University. Their board of studies approved it. So we run the programs, but they issue the degrees. So PU issues the degree, that's called affiliation, but we run the programs independently. Currently, there are 3 programs running actively and 1 more but not so active. The 3 programs are in applied electronics and chip design, in green energy and electrical systems, as well as STML, software development and machine learning. So these are the 3 bachelor level courses that we are offering at Auroville. So Auroville does have a undergraduate degree now. And as it was mentioned, if there is a multiversity, it would just merge with. Because right now we are only offering with respect to being affiliated to PU. So that's one. Two, AIAT also offers programs for students who want vocational skills. So at the 11th and 12th, or A level, if you can think of it, they are also vocational, after which they can again continue for a bachelor's program. So these are the current programs that are being offered at AIAT. Does that answer the question?
My question is to FAMC, and I would like to know in all the presentation and also seeing ATDC's presentation where there's a lot of GOI grant has been spoken and there is no mentioning of internal Auroville economy failing, units closing. Prosperity's conversation for last 4 days was very clear. All this aspiration has to be met. Who will pay that? Will that be paid by GOI as well? What is action taken to strengthen the base of abundance for Auroville, which we are all claiming and naming? Where does that abundance is rooted? Will it be funded, is my question.
So, absolutely, it's a big elephant in the room. And in fact, some members of FAMC over the last 1 year, we also mapped last 6 years of our economy of all the income generating units and tracked it at a unit level, trust level, and also sector levels to have a better understanding of how our map is today and how we can start planning. And also we were looking at the trends over the last 3 to 4 years where it has, significantly impact on our internal economy. And so we are looking at ways to strengthen it. And there is various areas we are looking at as FAMC to also, talk with the unit executives, look at how to bring new energy with the existing units, and so that, there is more strengthening and oversight and, viewing of how we can now grow that part. Of course, there is no money that will be applied from GOI because those are more for infrastructure and capital grants for developing the city. But our own strength, we have to stand on our own feet, right? We cannot expect that to come from GOI. It doesn't make sense anyway, right? Because it's us. So we have to do it together. So FAMC is looking into how to strengthen that and make it happen. We have ideas. We are going to start talking with some of the unit executives, the big income generating unit, and present what we have observed. And then work with them to say what is the feedback and how we can help, them bring in new energy. Those are interested to, start participating. And that's our roadmap.
Hello, my question is regarding the last 3 days or 4 days sessions that we had with Prosperity Group. And today the question again I would like to address to Toby and indirectly to FAMC as well. So let's say I have two major questions. One is about prosperity for all, in which I find a lot of contradictions with regard to, first of all, about infrastructure. Now, from every Aurovillian's maintenance, 3,800 goes to serve all the services of Auroville for infrastructure. In addition, when a problem arises in every individual home, say electrical problem or water problem or telephone problem, the department sends somebody in our house to repair, and then we get a bill. So there are double expenses. Once you remove 3,800 from every maintenance, in addition we have to pay all these services given in our homes. This is question number one. Question now addressed to Toby regarding water service.
The second one. I'll take the first one and then you do the second one. Don't mix up the two. So, as part of the restructuring of our collective support system, it is prosperity. What we are looking at now is doing a cost center accounting for each of our services. Okay. Only when you understand the cost center accounting and the budgeting and the scaling that is required as we grow, we'll be able to plan and our economy to match it. Now, the issue of this individual city services contribution, it's a big issue because people feel it's a tax, right? And also that's how it's perceived, and it should not be there. FAMC agrees with it. But what we have to do is that all our services have to be strengthened as a cost center accounting, so the true cost will be visible for quantum of supporting an individual, individual, adult, children. Then what happens is easier to map. I'm not saying we'll be able to meet our budget immediately. And so that's why what we have today, we have to shift over to what we can first get it transparent, accountable, and scalable in terms of feasibility. Then we can strengthen our economy to slowly strengthen how we can step forward to increase the basket of abundance. 500 individuals today don't contribute anything. They stay in Auroville assets, don't participate, and there is a resistance, which is fine. This is part of the times. But once we showcase that, our prosperity system is more fair, takes into account the needs, and then if we can, like in this meeting, answer the question that our scalability is to be there, but people have to participate to work with that, the economy, the income generating unit, and also if everybody understands that, there's no more tax, but what we are sharing, we do it openly, like we did for the prosperity, talking to various segments, there'll be follow-on for the community. Then what happens, the processes can be shared so that everybody understands where we are going. Okay, so once we start having report of subgroups and their cost center accounting, it becomes easier to project what costing will be per quantum. And this only talks of individual level. We have to look at next at a society level. What are the needs of the children? What are the needs of various sectors? Those levels we can go, but only first if we have everybody working together at the individual level. First everybody is focused on individual. Then only we can go next level. And now you can ask your second question.
So my question would be to Toby, in your presentation on water, what was missing for me is the aspect of recycling of rainwater during the monsoons.
Yeah.
1 second, I have not finished.
Okay.
Every rain, I have a river in front of my house,
Yes.
flowing down from the the east gate to west gate, or no, the opposite, the western gate to east gate. And I literally can't even walk. There's so much rain which even flows into my doorstep. So, is there any study on how you collect the rainwater for reuse, recycling?
Yes, there is a study. Okay, next question. No, I mean, yes, we have so many studies of rainwater, how much water, where it falls, where it is going to, what is the precipitation, what is the drainage, we know. We have basically mapped whole Auroville, and we know where the water is going, and we know where it goes into the ground. But that's not where the story ends. I said it already in my presentation, more and more we see that the Central Groundwater Board is pushing that rainwater should be recharged. And they did a whole project in Pondicherry, a very successful project in Pondicherry, and they are looking now around Pondicherry to pick up the same kind of projects, what they did there. And Auroville is in the back of their mind also to start with. What they are saying, don't make open water bodies, evaporations, recharges, so there it will stay fine. Now, these are the studies, and these are the pushing things what we hear left and right. We have not come as water service to projects like this, but seeing the whole current and seeing the whole situation, we have to start with it, and next year we will start for sure. Where exactly, I don't know, but it will happen, it will start.
Thank you for organizing this meeting. I'm disappointed because I really was expecting a meeting between 4 o'clock and 5:30, during which time the secretary, Ravi, was going to speak. And so I'm kind of disappointed that here we are now at 5:30. It's going to happen? I mean, it's going to happen. But the meeting's like over now. I mean, it's 5:30? No? No, it's not over. I'm missing something.
It's not over. Brief.
Here she is. Questions? Okay, so respect and take the questions as well. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, this was a wonderful presentation, opened my mind. I have one question regarding to FAMC especially. We are formulating a lot of groups, and I would like to bring attention to participation of women from different cultures here in these subgroups that we are formulating. What is your thought and action towards women participation? How are we encouraging women in these subgroups at FAMC that we are formulating at important positions, especially coming from different cultures, especially? Yeah. Question is with FAMC presentation in context with that you're formulating new members, you're inviting them, new subgroups are happening in that context.
Hello. Well, she had 2 pointers. One is women participation and women from various cultures participation, right? And in the core subgroups of FAMC. I understand your question. Now, all women of various cultures are very, very welcome. HRS is the right point of contact to gather information. Currently, there is a survey going on for all the Aurovillians' place of work. If everybody participates and say, okay, this is where I'm working, or this I'm looking for, this is my interest where I want to join, that would be the beginning to map. And of course, we are always open to any Aurovillian to work. As I said, currently 400 to 500 people are not engaged, and individual city services contribution, which is the old way of looking at it as tax, is not coming. So our revenues are strained, our economy is strained, which is okay. It's part of a transition, but I'm very happy to see there's a big gathering here. This is the moment we transition. As Laksha is saying, this is the moment of change, right? Can we take that step to 2028 for Mother's anniversary that he's hoping?
So just one last question and then we'll start.
Hello. As Laksha sir said, that actually basic thing we are not discussing, that is the real challenge in Auroville. We know all and everybody understood these things. We are international community from different culture, different country, different religion, people came here. And certainly we are facing the problem of unity. That is the basic of things, so that whatever discussion theory we are talking, we are unable to implement. Everybody of us, we have also worked in ATDC, we have worked with housing, we have worked with some other projects, but we found, and even SAIIER schools and all those things, but we found this problem. We are unable to implement our Sanskrit literature. Initially, the small alphabets also, but Sri Aurobindo and Mother has told that Sanskrit is for unity. And this Auroville has been made for unity. Unity amongst different country people, different caste people, so that has to be done. And since this Still, we are not in a position to do. Our syllabus is not accepted, and all those things, we are not in a position to teach integral education till now properly because teachers are not cooperating and all those things. However, we are trying. Our aspiration is good, certainly, as our SAIIER has given the presentation. That is, our aspiration is soul-based society. We have not yet reached in the soul, so certainly we have not made that unity. But until that, there must be some unity, at least mental level or different levels, and that we should focus in our discussions of such meetings wherever such gatherings are there. So why we are teeny problems, for personal problems, whatever we can discuss in housing and ATDC, we are unnecessary discussing, replying and questioning. So let us discuss about the unity, what we are doing for unity. That what for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, this Auroville has been made, that complete world can live in one place. But why we are not discussing that the biggest challenge, and we are discussing teeny things.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
So
doesn't look like a question, sir.
From top management.
Yeah, so we'll choose a different platform to discuss this. But if you have questions, please send it by email so that we will answer it. So we'll proceed with presentation. I give the mic to Madam to start.
Much. We really appreciate all of you being here, taking time out at a short notice and being here. It means a lot to us, all of us. And I think starting from what Ramesh ji said, we're all works in progress, aren't we? Each one of us. And when we meet here like this, I want to again take this opportunity with a lot of love and respect to say that this is what we have come together for in a way. We see what is happening across the world, and at these very, very turbulent times when what we are enjoying here, experiencing here is an absolute luxury, isn't it? Whether the air we breathe in, the kind of atmosphere we're all living in, we may still have, it's like the story of, sometimes notwithstanding whatever we do, that's human nature. We would tend to complain about the shoes which are not good, footwear which is not fitting, till the story where you come across somebody who didn't have legs. And then we realize how blessed we are. But coming back to what I think is the underlying and the overarching purpose of all of us being here at Auroville, which even in the symbol of Auroville, where Mother had drawn the dot at the center, and in quite a few presentations we saw that there were 5 petals or sectors rather than 4, which is typically a part of her symbol. And some time back when we were talking about this, I don't know if Jaya is here, we were deliberating on all the aspects, the facets of the mother. And she does, in the symbol, say that the dot at the center represents unity, the supreme, the divine. And that is what the lady here, I don't know your name, when you spoke about inclusion of women in various activities, and then different cultural, we all come from different cultures. So all that manifest difference may be there. But I think what Auroville is about is to celebrate, find, and live that intrinsic unity, which is nothing but the divine. And then it's not about I'm united with you as long as we both have something in common, like maybe we both love coffee or we don't like something, but it's we love each other because there is no other. And it is in that spirit that when we look at everything around, I think I'm not quite quoting it exactly, but paraphrasing what the mother said. The world is preparing for a big change. Will you help? And I think Auroville is poised to play a very important role There is something specially a sandbox which was created for us, and it has withstood all this, all the turbulences right from the beginning. Different regimes, different things, and it has only grown slowly, steadily, emerged, becoming more and more manifest. And in that spirit, I think there's a lot of work. If we saw the presentations made today by everybody, today since morning I've also been sitting, and almost every day, although I'm not physically here in Auroville, not a day goes by when I don't pick up the phone and speak to some of the people here, have issues related to Auroville that are being we try to sort them out, figure out how do we accelerate the process of manifestation of the city. But along with it, it's not just the external city, but also some shifts that are happening palpably in all of us. And I'll come back to the symbol again in the end, and do remind me if I forget, the 5 petals and why it's not just the 4 dimensions. But in a very, very practical way, in a very, very implementable way, we in mathematics speak of something called a sigmoid curve, which means something which is shaped like an S. It goes very slowly, there's a turn, and then it goes fast and then settles up later. So in the last 3-4 years, I've been feeling with every visit that more or less we are now at the place where this flat, long period of waiting is now turning upwards. So which means that there's a lot of work to be done. There are endless possibilities, unending, infinite opportunities for all of us. There's a lot of things that we really look forward to each one of you contributing, each one of us contributing in areas that we may choose, and where there's an overlap with areas where there is a need. And I think in that spirit, we want to, again, use these forums, opportunities to reach out to each one of you to say that let us all join. And that is where unity is not something which will just be a philosophical idea. Some of you who are senior and who've been here for a long time, I hear this with a lot of fondness when people say that when Matra Mandir was getting built, everybody was a part of this physical work, and differences, different points of view. I mean, physically also there was exhaustion. People sat together, ate, you broke bread together, but then again you were back to work. In that spirit, I think we are entering another very interesting phase of Auroville where there is a lot, and we really look forward in all dimensions. So on the livelihood or the maintenance or the opportunities for people front, I want to again share with all of you, particularly the young people in Auroville. There are lots of opportunities coming up, even as we look at the new avenues, the roads through which we'll have vehicles coming into visitor center. It's going to be lined on both sides with possibilities of outlets, where even young graduates from the BVOC course that Sanjeev just spoke about, the Bachelor's in Vocational Education, it could also be other younger Aurovillians, anybody, if they want to have some outlets where you can really reach out, given that every day there are, on an average, about 6,000 people coming to Auroville. We have an opportunity of offering goods, services, products, even experiences, immersive experiences of art, culture. There's no shortage of talent, of possibilities, and all of this, of course, we must consciously try to see that it's reflecting what the raison d'etre of Auroville was. And if we do that, I think there are lots of possibilities there. In the same breath, I also want to take this opportunity to say that in the last year, we've had several people from Auroville visit other states of India for conferences, workshops, in other words, being ambassadors, because we have to take this message of Auroville to other parts of India and invite people to come here just as we go and spread. For example, right here in this venue, about 3 years ago, Sanjeev, we started the integral immerse. What is the full acronym? You have a alphabet soup. IEPG. Integral Education Practitioners Gathering. So we started it here across for the first time, breaking these silos. Again, it's a small exercise to celebrate and to actually work with that unity. Till then, it's not to say that things were not happening, but they were happening in limited within the schools. For the first time, it was decided, why don't we invite all the teachers? They're not even, we don't call them teachers, we call them facilitators or educators. Because the process of integral education, it's just as we think we are trying to facilitate, we're both learning together. There is something happening both with the person who's trying to learn and the person who's facilitating the learning, because both are learning. And we started it, and there was a lot of skepticism. I still remember we had nearly the first presentation based on something called Karma Yogi that we had started in the year 2003 at Gujarat. When it was shared with Sanjeev, it was felt that this will never take shape. Margarita was there, and she egged me to write a letter with my own hands. And I remember we did that, offered it to the mother, and then actually sent it. And we were surprised where out of 375 teachers, as many as 350, with about maybe perhaps 20 of them did not come, but the rest of them attended it. It was a gathering right here, and extremely powerful. And all that, whether it was readings, Saptadhara, art, music, culture, sports, we had people. And for the first time, we had people from the ashram who started coming to Auroville. There are people, for example, in physical education. The director of physical education in the ashram, we have a gentleman called Praveen Kapoor. So he had not come to, although he was one of the few people who had come for the foundation of Auroville way back in 1968. He had not visited Auroville till perhaps 2023 or 24. But he came, and I mean, these are people also who have consecrated their whole life for Mother and Sri Aurobindo. But something major is also shifting. He was here, he went to the Matra Mandir, and then he's been regularly working with us. So coming back to this Integral Education Practitioners Gathering, IEPG, am I right? See? What you do realize is all of these, we do start with some reluctance, but I think at the end of it, on the third day, when we all sat here and had a circular, a small exercise where everybody stood up and went around, I'm not exaggerating, I saw it with my eyes, almost every pair of eyes that we looked into was moist. There was something that had shifted, because we do come with our expectations, baggages, anticipations. So there's a lot of mental noise, which is our nature. But when we came here and when this happened, I think there was something beautiful that shifted. So carpe diem, trying to catch that spirit, that energy, we thought, why don't we now also, just as we are all hungry for this, integral education at all stages, again, this is a place of lifelong education, can we also see how this can be made available for people from across India and the world? And very, very readily, the team at SAIIER agreed, and the same thing is happening also for physical education. We've drawn up a full curriculum, just as a curriculum for the integral education practitioners gathering has happened. It's a curriculum, but not a structured or a dead curriculum. It's something that is absolutely evolving beautifully. So the point I was coming to is, now we need to also take some of these wonderful flowers, offerings, beautiful creations that we have done here in Auroville, we may still believe that we are far from being perfect, which is a good attitude. I'm sure nothing is absolutely, we are tending towards perfection, and we don't want to become arrogant and believe that we have something which is absolutely perfect. Of course, integral education itself means that it's not static. We are constantly in the process of, but this methodology is something, for example, that can be shared with teachers across India and the world. And it would hugely benefit so many children, so many teachers, so many schools, so many parents. It would make an impact. So as Orivan mentioned, in the context of all that is happening in the world, this could be our little contribution, a small piece of it, but often it's these small things that have the potential to make a big difference. And in that spirit, we also want to, just as we spoke of many opportunities, many possibilities, if there are those of you who are working in the education sector, physical education sector, or even in enterprises. Today afternoon, I went to a raw food restaurant in Auroville. How many of you have been to the raw food restaurant in Auroville? What is the name? Absolutely. How many of you are yet to go to Sachidananda? Well, you can't have your hands not up there or here. I repeat, how many of you have been to Sachidananda? And how many of you are yet to go there? So I'm not marketing for Sachidananda, but I would very strongly, I've decided I'm going to take my entire office also there. And I think all of us, if there is SAIIER, if some of our meetings, we should probably all go there. What I'm trying to say is, so this is an experiment that one of our own sisters of Auroville, Anandi, she decided that I want to experiment with this. And about perhaps 20 years ago, she went to the US and then, has come up with something so beautiful. But should it only be restricted to Auroville? Can we not, I'm sure the whole world, there would be many people who would want to absorb this, take some lessons from this. And she's making even very, very typical Tamil cuisines out of this concept. I mean, today she had made vadai and there were some crackers with, absolutely something which was nice, different, and which is also very, very healthy, good, right? So in that spirit, what I'm trying to say is almost there's so many units in Auroville, the work that you're doing. I think each one of you sitting here, the things that you're all doing in your units. I saw Bridget, am I getting your name right? Brigitta. I always mess it up, I think. I apologize for that, Brigitta. So the Matru Gold, each one of you, the music that we see Zach sitting there. So each of the things that we have here, not that we need to go out to market, or the cinema, the festival, Lakshman, that we are planning, whether it's Paradiso, Cinema Paradiso, and so on. There's so many products, so many services, so many things that we have, even our education. I see Kiran there, the kindergartens, and the way we engage with young learners. Sohini is also here, Udavi. So I think all of this, or say traditional Chinese medicine, right? So if there is a way to take this to other parts of India and the world, and we would really now look forward in a concerted way to have groups that go and visit other parts of India. And that is also because there was a question that Uma asked. Uma, are you there? Yeah. And I think it makes sense that we have to look, waiting for Government of India or some donor or CSR to give us funding, I think you can kiss that idea goodbye. They may still give you, but I don't think we should become dependent on that. And Mother, the very idea of Auroville is that we have to be self-supporting, self-sustaining, and we can. I think if we look at it, it's just that how do we take these ideas, offerings, landscape, there's so much. I mean, just sitting at the density of, all that you all have created, sitting just this room, all of you who are here. There's so much that we have. And how do we make it available to the rest of India, the rest of the world, and have a possibility for people to come here, because there's a huge appetite, hunger for all of this across the world. And we're also, in the same breath, when we have visitors coming here, about, on an average, as I said, 6,000 of them per day. Even after Bharat Niwas has opened up, we have the Pavilion of India doing all this. Probably it's half a day. They walk through Bharat Niwas, a few places, and then maybe the visitors, the viewing gallery to see Matru Mandir, and then some restaurants at Kuila Palayam, right? Pizzas, and then that's it. Can we not change that discourse? Now, even the green belt areas, some of the, whether it's the botanical gardens, whether each of the units, we have 700 units, can we not curate small immersions, of course of small size, that we can do, of course, end to end, working with it, and young students, those that have graduated, or those who are in that period of wanting to, because after all, education here is also about these experiences under adult supervision. If there's a way that they can be engaged to take these visitors to different centers, talk about Auroville, make them, and different, you can have duties of this kind on a weekly, monthly basis, and a bunch of our Aurovillians, 400 odd Aurovillians, whose contribution, Chandresh, to Auroville is zilch. If there's a way we can reach out and have people volunteer, something that they like, something that is a win-win situation, can we not do that? And for that immersive experience, we could charge something for it so that it is self-supporting, self-sustaining. The idea is not to make, what is it called, some kind of a obnoxious, profit. That's not the point. But yes, we have to sustain ourselves. It's in all these little ways, big ways, that we do that. So we really want more and more of all of you participating. And I want to also share one more thing now. I'm very glad that this whole exercise, Lakshay is getting up, just as I was about to mention his name. I was very glad that the prosperity session that you had a few days back, you had shared the, some of the, shall I say, the nichod, or the essence, what came out of it. It was shared, and I was very happy to see that. I want to share a small experience. I don't think I have done this with you all before, but I think before coming here, I was Principal Secretary Health in Gujarat. And we used to have, our sex ratio had gone down to as low as about 850, which is quite low. Maternal deaths, we were better than the national average, but still, on an average per day, there were about 3 mothers dying during childbirth. Whereas when we all, as a team, sat, and I asked our senior officers, even our ministers, honorable ministers, and my team members, we used to have something called a Chintan Shibir, which is a place where you all congregate. It's like a retreat to think about the strategy to go forward. How many of us in our families or friend circles have actually had the demise or the death of a mother during childbirth in the last 1 or 2 years? Not a single hand went up, which meant that these were not happening routinely in those of us who could access health services and who could stand up. But then, somewhere below, there were mothers who were dying, falling through the cracks, and that was something which was unacceptable. We did something very simple called a series of action seminars, which Goel Saab is now planning. So Lakshay, the reason I wanted you to, I requested your presence is, what we did was simple. This is something that I had picked up some of these, the methodology of this from the World Economic Forum at Davos, where we'd seen. What they would do is all the stakeholders. Like in health, at the grassroots level, absolutely on the ground, you have health activists called ASHAs. I don't know if you've heard of them, accredited social health activists. They're typically women at the village level who are not even graduates. Often they're not even 10th class pass outs, but they are women belonging to the village, but who have that element of sincerity, willingness to learn. And then you have all the way escalate. If there's a problem, the mother is taken to an institution, a primary health center, to birth. If there's a complication, she is then moved to the referral center. If they can't handle it further, you use an interfacility, transport, ambulance, and finally, you also take a mother to a tertiary care hospital or a quaternary care hospital, and you have what are called obstetric ICUs. It's like a intensive care unit, but for mothers who are having major, there is postpartum hemorrhage, and there are issues like that. So when for the first time we got all these people together, the Asha on the ground who's probably not even very, very highly literate educated, and you had these super specialized doctors, and got all of them to talk about what are the gaps. Why is it that these mothers are falling through the cracks? How do we deal with it? You'll be surprised that they came up, all of them together. First of all, there was a lot of skepticism when I have this habit of questioning the status quo. And when this was placed before the team, our senior doctors said, no, Ashas, they can't. How will they participate? How will the female health workers, A&Ms participate? We said, let's try. We'll speak to them in the local language, Gujarati, try. I'm sure you'll be surprised. We got nearly 150 plus suggestions. From these, we had 11 groups. So we are planning something like that at Auroville. So the team which facilitated that, there is a simple methodology, and then we can too, further improve on it. So we're planning this sometime in April, and we would really like all of you. We'll have about 11 problem statements or areas, including education, and then some more sub areas. So Goel Saab is working, Lalit, Bhati. Is Lalit here by any chance today? But so there is a team working on that. We are putting it together. So just to take this forward, I know I'm taking your time, but I just want to explain to you, when we put this together, about nearly less than 200 suggestions, and we put them on an axis of time, on an axis of the money required to do that. What are the resources you need to implement these changes, and what is the legal? Do I really need to go and make a change in the act? Do I need to go to Parliament or to the Legislative Assembly? You'll be surprised, about 85% of these changes had zero money, no need for money. They could be done immediately, zero time, and they were things that could be done at my level or below my level. So which meant we said, okay, let's start with it. The story doesn't end there. So there is a ranking of different states of India for different SDGs. What are SDGs? Sustainable Development Goals. So there's Goal 3. And what is Goal 3? Good health and well-being. So we were at the 17th rank. This is around 2017. So we started with this, and then very diligently these suggestions which came, these suggestions were not quite in fact, it was a big learning for me too. You realize, this is where the shoe pinches. Because I'm sure what some of you who are working in some of the enterprises, when you come with your ideas of what the problems are in schools, it would be, I'm sure some of it even would be an education for Sanjeev and Aurivan, because a lot of times we presume we know, but a lot of times we realize that there's a lot of things we also do not know, and we learn, and that's the beauty of life. So when we went about it, our rank improved from the 17th. After 2 years, we came up to the 8th rank. It was implementing all of these. Of course, there was a system of regular monitoring, mentoring, capability building, because, it's the same team. We didn't get some new teams from another planet or something new that happened. It was the same team, the same financial, the same budget. Our budget didn't dramatically increase, but with it, things hugely improved. So the maternal deaths, sex ratio, and then even mental health issues, accidents, road accidents. It's interesting, all of these. Yesterday I was sharing this with Tuan on the phone. So all of these parameters, things started improving. Immunization, host of them. This was a composite index. And the story doesn't stop there, but the subsequent 2021, the rank had increased. We had further gone to the first position nationally. And what was very heartening, not that I believe in these competitions, I really am not somebody who believes in competing and ranking, but you did feel that if with these efforts you can push the levels, our sex ratio, which means the girl babies or the fetuses which were going away, this is a sociological problem. I mean, across the country and in different portions, they feel the girl child is not needed. Our sex ratio improved to be better than Kerala. And how did we do it? Of course, there was something called sting operations using the PCPNDT Act, the Preconception Prenatal Diagnostic Testing Act. But we also did a lot of social and behavior change communication by talking to, social leaders, others, and whenever there was a girl child born in a hospital, we would have, administrative and political leaders go there, congratulate the mother, because it's some way to make the family feel that you're not saddled with a girl child, but you've actually got a child who could really make a big difference. Because there are women today, the glass ceilings are breaking. There are women in almost every field of life doing well. So when all this happened, the story also doesn't stop here. Of course, then I came here. What is interesting is we've had 2 further rounds of the SDG 3, which happened later in 2023 and very recently in 2025. And the good news is the state has retained the first position. So which means these are not impossibilities. I think all the concerns that the presenters who are here and all the people who are working, each of you is contributing. You've all invested your sweat, your time, your energy, your efforts, and sometimes also the onslaught from different people. I'm sure sometimes when young people from India probably chose to come here, your parents might have said, "Are you crazy, Lakshay? Did you hear that from your home to come to Auroville?" Every day. So I can understand, because a lot of, this may not be a very Western phenomenon, but in India, they say that why have you gone, it's a part of our mindset. I'm not judging it, but I'm saying, but if you've withstood all that and been here, I'm sure there's something far bigger, something which is attracting you. There's a magnet which is holding you here. And that is nothing, I think, if we were to put it in simple words, it's the mother and Sri Aurobindo. They have something which we may not, our intellect may even revolt and fight and say that's not it, but there is something which is holding you here. And all I want to say is there's a lot that we're now planning to do in the coming weeks. We also had a meeting with all the architects of Auroville. It was the first, after a long gap. I had planned to do this with Helmut and all of them about 3 years ago, but somehow after that, it couldn't take shape. I want to acknowledge that, and found that there are several who came forward and said they want to be a part of this. And now also coming to art, culture, integration with SAIIER and outside. There was the last slide that Sanjeev showed. Did you see that? Check here. How many of you are aware of a beautiful play? I really had tears in my eyes watching that play. There was a play that the students of Isai Ambalam School put up at the Sri Aurobindo Auditorium. How many of you saw that play? Were there any of you there? GK puts his hand up. He was there behind the camera, he and his camera. Glad? Anybody else? So I want to really urge you, when our children, this putting up a play is not an easy task. It probably took about 3-4 months. The props, the invitation, costumes, music, all that was done by the children, their teachers. It was a labor of love. It was a process of learning, even calculating the dimensions, making various, what are they called? The different sets, props, backdrops, everything. So after that, I did request him, and sometimes when the secretary requests, it becomes like a bit of a to-do list kind of thing. But what I really want to take, now I see Davaselvi also here, where are you? There. So and since Aurivan is here, the SAIIER team is here, we certainly want to request you all to have your students from different schools, the plays that they're doing. Let's open up our cinema paradizos, open up our Sri Aurobindo auditoriums, all these spaces, at least once a year. These are the memories children will cherish for their entire lifetime. They're not necessarily going to remember everything that happened in class. But if each of you went back to your childhood, there was one day you all together performed at a theater or at the amphitheater or something. I think the fun, the learnings, for about 3 months, there was palpable tension, performance anxiety, and then finally, when you did it and you got a lot of applause, I'm sure it felt good. Yes? No? Or maybe? Huh? So can we not be open to all of that? Anton, you're also sitting there. It's happening. But now, in the sense, a little more structured, every school. And if every child, we have in all of about 2,500 children, Sanjeev, are my numbers right? Or a little more or less, including the outreach, a little less. So tending towards 2,000 or 2,500? 2,000. So 2,000 children across these 23? 14 and everything. Activities, everything together is 23, if I remember right, 20. So if we gave them a possibility of coming on stage, it could be the Unity Pavilion, it could be this. And then, so that is where today I've also requested our team. Lata, madam, is here as a person who'll hold it. But we want basically participation. Kiran, you're here, all the teachers. Kalyananda, you did a wonderful job with Maithili Thakur. We had a young girl. Did how many of you came for Maithili Thakur's program at Matru Mandir? Did you like it? Now she's hardly 25 years old. 25 years old, right? And you know, look at the sensation that she's been. And also sticking to, it's not that she's pandering to some sensationalism, and the fact that she's also been elected as an MLA. She's also a member of the Legislative Assembly in a state like Bihar. So these are the inspiration for our children as well. You know, why should our children here not aspire to be leaders who can take on any profession, including politics, social work, leadership at different places, nationally, internationally. So if we could have all these different schools come and offer things here, which is what the purpose of Auroville, Mother too. I think in Ashram we would have the December program, playground. So now one more thing, we have a habit of shaking you from your comfort zone, right? So Praveen Kapoorji has been, what's the word for it? Huh? He's been planning something special. Huh? He's been planning that just as, I mean, all of us, we're going to have one day in a year where we all come together for some kind of a physical, like it happens in the ashram, what is it called, the playground sports day. That sort of thing, not just for children, not just for the school people, because we're all here in a place of unending youth, lifelong learning. So that's a lone clap. So which tells me how many people are for it and how many are against it. But that doesn't matter, we shall overcome, right? And so Pradeep Bhai is conniving, that was the word I was looking for, in a nice way. So he's been saying, and he wants me to wear the, what is it called, the kitty cap and the shorts, and everybody says we should all be there with the playground and do this. So, and Olympics are coming to India. It's a very big possibility. Commonwealth Games definitely happening. And why don't we as Aurovillians also offer something? We should also be a part of all of this that leads to it. And then the health system, also, Chandresh, it's very important we put it all together, which we have worked on, insurance cover in some ways for all our people, because I think health is as important for everybody. as it is. And I'm sure, so these are also areas where we need you to all be a part of it. Now the process of meeting, I don't know if Koshi Saab spoke about it, but now the Register of Residents also has been, we've gone through several rounds of iteration. Did you have a discussion about it, Koshiji? So we are now more or less at a stage where we can finalize it, because we found 300 plus people. There were people who had unfortunately passed away, some of them left, so that whole process is getting finalized. And now every month we are planning to have these meetings, because the secretary of the foundation is the secretary of all the three bodies connected with the foundation: the governing board, International Advisory Council, and the Resident Assembly. So we thought if we have this forum once a month, and if there is a system by which you can also, if there are agenda items that everybody in the Register of Residents is a part of the Resident Assembly. So if there are issues that you would like to discuss, and there is a timeline, with Koshiji will be letting you know if we get those questions in time, and then we have a system of systematically also knowing who all has participated and making sure that genuine concerns are all addressed and we all walk together. It'll be great. And then finally, one more thing which Mishraji asked, I started with him. And do our schools, Sanjeev, teach our children at least some basics of English? Some basics. What about French? Many. And what about Tamil? Yes. And what about French? Sanskrit? All. So if it's not there, my request is across all the schools, whether it is the Auroville schools or the ones outside, at least some basic conversational, if there is, because these 4 languages which we spoke about, if we can, when children are young, I think this ability to absorb languages like a sponge, and later on when they grow up, it'll be something which will be a beautiful gift for them. So effortlessly in the really younger ages, if they can learn it, I think that would also be, I'm not saying we in any way push it down their throats, but if you can make it fun with movies, and that's where Cinema Paradiso is also getting opened up for kids. If we have small educational, good quality films, or if our teachers also and people can make something like that now, even Auroville Institute of Applied Technology, BVOC, I think it'll be good to get our children familiar with all these languages, just as the ashram has a basic primer for these languages, and it's more a reverence to this local land that we belong. I mean, if we've stayed here and studied here for 10, 12 years, and I say Tamil Theriyadu, it's better at least a few sentences for them to function would be in order. So on that note, I think we want to again take this opportunity. We are moving ahead. In the coming month, we will be having these action seminars to again harvest all your ideas and then take them towards fruition. We're waiting for the new governing board decision to be taken by the government. It could happen any time. We are hoping and we are keeping our fingers crossed that happens as soon as possible. And if there are any other input suggestions, we would be very happy to take them forward in the spirit of building the city. And again, we go back to the charter and figure out why are we here, as we ask ourselves that question. Whatever we do, whether it's the economic work that we do, whether it is our participation in various events, I mean, I'm not only referring to the ex-visa, because it's not just for our sisters and brothers who are not from India, but for everybody. I think these basic, the do's and don'ts, I don't know if Koshiji had a chance to. Today you didn't get a chance? Oh. Would you like to say something? Okay. So what we again want us to do in a gentle way, but I think we need to ask ourselves why we are here, because I think, and if we are here, we have to be offering ourselves, consecrating ourselves to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo for the dream that they have seen, and they have entrusted it to us collectively to make it happen. So on that note, with a bit of silence, we'll spend a few minutes offering all this at their lotus feet. And before that, Lakshay wants to ask something. Yes, Lakshay?
Made in a different spirit. In a way, again, what I'm taking from here is thank you for expressing yourself. It's good to know all the stories, particularly from Gujarat. It's wonderful. But our challenges are different, madam. You recognize that. And the population that we have is also pretty unique. It's a culmination of, or a coming together of willing servitors. We are not just citizens in that sense. So I want to take it as a base that everyone understands Charter. I want to take it as a base that everyone is here to be a true Aurovillian. I want to believe that everyone is inspired by the dream. Now let's take it as a base and then build forward. And to build forward, last 5 years has been, we all know we went through a challenging times, and it was necessary because according to even Auroville Foundation Act, I think the Residents' Assembly took charge of governing itself, and that's a mess it got itself into. We needed somebody to come and govern us. Perhaps in the next 5 years or maybe 10 years, we may have to go through a challenge of finding this balance. It was like a pendulum. You rightly took this metaphor before. I think you took the pendulum away from where it was stuck. But the pendulum has gone to the other side. And the other side, we need to ensure that it is not stuck for too long. And that means that the governing board also, or the functionary that comes from outside, willing servitors on special duty per se, if I may put it that way, may need to realize at some point that there is a limitation to the functioning of governing body. It can govern, but we as residents, even though we may fumble, we have to function ourselves. You may give us some crutches, but how long can we cling to those crutches? Let us also learn to walk. And these kind of, it's almost like a mother, the way I saw it, I heard you. You are telling us your experiences. Yes, thank you. It's very valuable. But I need to take my first step, even fall a bit, to learn to walk, the way I see it. Which means we need to function. And right now, that seems to be stuck somewhere. And that's what I expressed in the beginning of the meeting, that maybe there's lack of such platforms to express oneself, even shout at each other, and that cannot be in front of you. And I requested, and I thank everyone here for not crossing that maryada, and thanks for being respectful. And we need to have that in front of you, in front of every officer on special duty. We need to be very respectful to them. But we need also some platform to little bit be the children that we are here as, no? And for that, perhaps I request the working committee, I don't care if you're elected, selected, or appointed, doesn't matter. You can take some role of responsibility. You can call some meetings on your own also. It does not have to be on order. If you can take the responsibility that actually you are a working committee for all residents. And if we can have some other occasions where we can, like we spoke about ATDC, there are some projects which we need to speak about. Not everything is perfect, no? You know, this is the first time we hear it, and we need to deliberate. Good, bad, doesn't matter, at least we need to deliberate. FAMC is the same case. So is, say, SAIIER. Maybe one request is that, ma'am, if you can little bit allow the working groups to have some agency of their own. Little bit tell them that, beta, you can walk on your own also. If you fall, I am there. But take your steps also. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think, Lakshay, the point is, we have also been requesting the working group members to not just call everybody collectively here, but even go down to communities and sit. Because I think on a weekly basis, if there is a way to reach out to different places. This community engagement, there's absolutely no doubt that that is needed, because there's often a lot of lack of communication, miscommunication, gap in communication. So point is well taken, and I think I will request the entire working committee to take the lead in it. Of course, Koshiji, you can also facilitate that, whether it is Arun or Selva, Partha, and of course all the members of the working groups. And in fact, we used to go to communities and meet people regularly, but ideally that is something that even the youth community coordinators, where is that? Would you like to talk about that?
So it is actually in process, ma'am. So we're trying to make a, in a sense, we have to give a presentation to the community of what is planned.
Can that your question is answered instantaneously, Lakshay? So when can you schedule that?
Next week, ma'am, most probably next week.
So
That's
next
what we
week,
plan.
huh? And you better be there.
Actually, I don't know where Lakshay picked that up from. In FAMC, I'm there since a little bit more than 3 weeks. I've never felt any pressure is there from Madam, at least for us to function or implement anything. So I would like to say there is a lot of shift in that. And I am taking on my own lot of things, which actually I should be taking the consent of the convener of FAMC, which is the Madam Secretary now. And I'm so happy she never called up or shouted at me, or she has given me the liberty, and she knows where to stop me, I guess. Thank you for trusting us, Madam.
End with a bit of silence and then conclude.